Very quickly, I will introduce myself. I'm Sal DiVincenzo from the Miller Business Center. Thank you for coming to one of our spotlight programs here online. Very happy to have Mike Apostoli, one of our career counselors at the center, doing a program for us today. He's going to show you some great online resources for your career and employment information. So Mike, I'm going to give it over to you, and thank you all for coming. And again, any questions, just use the chat.
Thank you, Sal. Welcome, everybody, and I hope to provide you with some information today, as Sal had said, on career resources. That mostly, we're going to be looking at comprehensive career and labor market information websites. The intent here is to familiarize you with these websites. I think there could be valuable tools in helping you make decisions at any number of points as you contemplate either a career change, finding a job, if it's your first job, if it's shifting jobs, what have you. These websites can be very informative and helpful to answer a lot of your questions. You're going to notice as we go through that there are a lot of similarities to these websites, and we're going to look at 4 of them today. Hopefully we get through them. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have. I will do my best to answer them. So the first one we're going to look at today, you should see it up on your screen, should say it should be the Occupational Outlook Handbook. You may be familiar with this if you've ever had any career counseling before, or if you've ever gone on, met with a guidance counselor in high school. This is it used to be exclusively on paper. Now it's still available on paper at the libraries, and it's thankfully on a website as a database. So, but if you look at it, one of the things is this is all compiled by, the information in here is compiled by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So let's just explore a little bit what you might find on these websites. You might find in terms of the drop-down menus, for example, occupational groups. You look and this particular one has groupings of jobs. They take jobs and careers and lump them together in terms of similarities of jobs. So for example, if you think you're interested in business and financial careers, you just click on that, okay? And you'll get a listing of different jobs that they categorize or assign to that grouping, business and financial occupations. They give you a little statement up here about what's happening with that. And these statistics are revised from time to time. So, over periods of time. But if you look down, you can click on any one of these jobs. For example, if you want to look at what a budget analyst does, you could click on budget analyst, claims adjusters, okay? I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of the page, okay? And these are the jobs that they are profiling in that particular occupation, okay? Or occupational areas, okay? So it is important to understand that they give you a brief summary. If you would click on this, it would be a much bigger description, okay? And if you look at what the entry level, they're profiling an entry level education. So for example, for accountants and auditors, you need at least a bachelor's degree. The median pay, and this is national because it's United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, all of these may vary depending on where you live. And what your business is like in that area, what business is like in that area, okay? But they're saying the median salary is $71,550, okay? And that means that half the people are making above that, half the people are making below that. You don't know what their length of service is, what their career history is in there, so that accounts for varying levels of salary. Just going to go back to to the home page. Okay. And let's look up, let's see, sorry. Okay. The other thing you could do here is you can look up a specific occupation by a number of different factors. So if, let's say, one of your primary concerns for looking for a new job or in selecting your career is pay, okay, salary. All right, so you could go in and you can set salary ranges, okay, and you need to be to base these salaries on expectations on your work experience. If you're just starting out, you're not going to get the top pay necessarily, okay. But if you click on, I'm going to click on $40,000 to $59,000, okay, and I click go, and then these are the different jobs. There's 244 entries on this, if you see here, that will pay between $40,000 and $59,000, $60,000. Okay, but here they'll give you more information. What education do you need? Can you get on the job training? Are the numbers going to decline? Or are they going to get better in terms of what the growth rate is? Okay, and what here again, the salary. Okay. Excuse me, I just want to jump back. Okay, then you could also get into it by something like that they refer to as the growth rate. Is the job going to grow? Okay, are jobs in that field going to become available? You may be looking for a job now, and you may be going to college. In 4 years of college, when you're done with your degree, what is that job going to be like? What in terms of availability? Are there going to be positions that will be available for you, entry level or what have you? So you could look at growth rate, and the way they describe it is much faster than average, etc. Okay, you can see those on the drop down. So let's look at something that's faster than average. What jobs are going to be projected to be faster than average in terms of their occurrence? Okay, and these things are directly linked to things in the economy. Okay, to different aspects of the economy. I mean, for example, depending on the housing market, you're going to find that appraisers and assessors of real estate would be faster than average. That's on the basis of thinking that housing is going to be a strong part of the economy. So people are going to buy, people are going to sell, somebody has to evaluate the house, somebody has to market the house, etc. Another one here is audio and video equipment technicians. I'm just going down the screen now. What is going to be available there? And again, you can get a post-secondary non-degree award, which means basically you could get some training in a skills training program, like either a BOCES or even some technical school, which doesn't award a college diploma, but does give you a certificate of completion, and probably some short-term on-the-job training as well. Okay, so this is very helpful to look at if you're looking at it from the perspective of how long do you have to put into getting ready for the job, your job prep time, for example, as well as what jobs are going to be there in the future. Okay, what jobs are going to show more openings. Okay, all right, so if you go down, they have also some really interesting kinds of information resources. Okay, they have frequently asked questions about jobs and how the handbook was put together, etc. What does it mean? A glossary of terms, which you might want to look at. That's important as well, so that you understand what it is that they're actually saying when they talk about projections of salary, projections of job growth, etc. Okay, so this is just one of this. As I said, this is available online. It's also available in paper form. And when you have it in paper form, it gives you all the information in one place. This you need to kind of go in and manipulate on the basis of the factors, the select occupations by factors. and you can look at that and come up with a list to begin your search. Okay. Anything with these is really to get you started. Okay. It's not anything that's going to be the be all and end all of your research. This is a good jumping off point. Okay. So I'm going to move to the next career database, if you will, career information. It's called Career One Stop. I like this stop a lot because it breaks out. If you look for where it says resources for, it really breaks out the information into categories that are very usable immediately. So for example, if you're somebody who is a career changer, okay, you might want to look at career changer, all right? Okay, so you would go in, they take you through different assessments, okay? There are a lot of this one has an assessment program where you can get an idea of what your skills are, what your interests are, okay? And then on a basis of that, you can go into where it says my skills, my future, and you can explore careers with that, okay? Things that you're going to look at doing an assessment. If you're a career changer, it implies anyway that you've had some work experience, you're already in one career, you want to switch out. What skills do I have now? How can I transfer them to another job? And who needs those skills? What industries need those skills? You know, most people don't give themselves, we don't give ourselves credit for the skills we've developed. So career changers really have to spend time looking at what is it that they have to offer somebody else? And then how do I find people who need that? And that's an exciting kind of a process. I'm going to go back to that screen again because there's a couple of things I want to highlight. One is also what happens if you are an older worker. Older workers have different concerns, okay, with finding employment. You know, whether, you know, you just need another job to supplement your income, but sometimes people get laid off and they need to, you know, maintain a certain level of employment and income. You know, older gets younger every day, you know? So as you get closer to that, you need to kind of look at what options might be available to you. And they have interesting articles for you to look at also. Looking at, you know, how do you handle questions about your age? How do you handle suspicions even about whether the person interviewing you is thinking if you have enough stamina to get through a day or what have you, what their prejudices or concerns might be, okay? There are things that you can click on here for more information to address those concerns that you might have, okay? Another one that I like to point out is workers with disabilities. Okay, there are specialized services for people with disabilities that would protect them, would help them rather find employment, get job training. There's also legislation to protect people with disabilities in the employment arena, and that's for the ADA. It's the first one. It's called the Americans with Disabilities Act. Okay, there's a lot of good information here, as well as practical things like how do you interview? Okay, what happens? Do you tell an employer that you have a disability? There's a lot of good information here that I would encourage you to look at. Okay, if you have a disability or somebody in your family has a disability and you're trying to assist them in finding meaningful employment. The other one that I will point out here too is a laid off worker. Okay, so let's see what the laid off worker. This one will actually help you not just find another job, not just find resources that can help you find another job, but also to give you information about applying for unemployment benefits if you needed that. Okay, how do you upgrade your skills? You know, sometimes depending on your employment situation or your unemployment situation, I should say, you will have money available sometimes to get job training to help you to resume your work life. So that's an important element as well. Okay. And one thing, a final one that I'll highlight, I mean, they're all very good, um, I'm sorry, let me just go back. Okay. Um, these credential seekers, there's another one that's good. The credential seeker is for somebody who wants to get into a licensed or professional occupation. Okay, entry-level worker, first-time worker, and young adult, teenagers, college students. That's really a very good site for that particular job seeker. Career advisors, where you can get help, and and I will just underscore what Sal had said about the Middle Country Public Library's availability at the Library of Career and Employment Counseling Services. One thing that's interesting here, we're all struggling with the pandemic. They have information on COVID that would help you maybe address work-related concerns, as well as other concerns that just keeping us all safe, okay? If you wanted to do a job search directly from here, okay, you can go into this here and it talks about how do you create a job search plan? How do you find employers? What kinds of salaries are out there? See, some of these things are much the same as the previous one with the Occupational Outlook Handbook, but here it gives you more, it gives you different information as well, like how do you create a job search plan, okay? How do you network? Why do you even network? I mean, you might have heard that, okay? Term, networking, okay? How do you interview? Getting ready for interviews. So there's a lot of good information that could get you started. As I said earlier, I think that you're reviewing these websites is a good start. You're picking one that you feel comfortable with, that you like, that will give you some basis, as a jumping off point. I think that would be good. But there are things that you're going to need to do beyond this. So like interviewing, like talking about job salaries, about job applications, cover letters. So this is a nice comprehensive website for that. Okay. The other one that under this toolkit on this bar, the other thing I'd like to point out is if you look here, you see an interest assessment. Some people, if you're just starting out, especially, I don't know what I'm interested in. Okay, I don't know what I'd be good. I want to do something different, but I don't know what I would like to do. So an interest assessment, it's a free online. It's an assessment. It's not a test, so because there's no right or wrong, but it gives you a little profile of where your interests fall, and you can match those interests to job families, okay, or specific jobs eventually. So you may want to take a look at completing those. Okay, they're simple, kinds of questions. These websites, the first one didn't have the interest assessment. This has an interest assessment. They're all different lengths. And as I said, there's no right and wrong on these. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to another.
Hey, Mike, before you move on, I just want to ask, does anybody have any questions before Mike moves on? All right, it looks like we're good to go, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Sal. Okay, the next website that we're taking a look at is called Ownit Online, and this is a really interesting website. I use this a lot in my work at Middle Country, and I use it for a number of different reasons. Remember, all of these, websites that we've talked about so far give you multiple sources of information, or they give you information about multiple aspects of career choice, things that you need to look at. Salary, for example. Are the jobs going to be there? Is there training available? Do I need training? Am I qualified? All of those questions can be addressed in some way through these websites. This is one I use a lot to help patrons when they come to see us with resumes, especially. Okay, so I'm going to just up here, just let's look at the site. Okay, this is again a government-based publication. You can find occupations. Now, the occupational categories they give you here are bright outlook. So that means you want to look at jobs that are going to be around or they think are going to grow. All right, so you could click on that. So let's click on that. Okay, you want to do rapid growth. You want to do numerous all bright look occupations. How about we do that? Bright outlook, I should say. Okay, so these are occupations from the database, the statistics that are compiled by the federal and the local departments of labor that would show you what jobs are going to have rapid growth. You see if they have bright outlook. This is a sunny outlook. Okay, bright is a little better. Then he also lists here tags like green. So people who are interested in environmental careers, for example, or environmental jobs, okay, these are green jobs. So you might want to look at some of these. Okay, you can click on one.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, we have a quick question.
Sure.
From Dr. Huma. Can these sites help for high educational degrees like research and faculty jobs?
Yeah, yes, I think so. I think they can in a couple of ways. One is they could point to employers that might be hiring in those career areas, but they could also maybe identify, for example, if you were going to be you're looking to become a professor, like an instructor, or an adjunct instructor. You point out places where these programs are offered. Okay, like the training is available. You might start developing a list of potential employers as well. So I think that if you go back to the previous screen with the career one stop, you could look at their credentialed and licensed section and see what they have there. Okay. Like, for example, I don't know what your profession is, doctor, but let me just say, let's look at this job description: advanced practice psychiatric nurses. I'm going to assume you're in healthcare, unless you're in education, but let's look at that. So here, what you get is in this job description is some really good information. All right, first, here's the job. These are the code. This is how it's coded in this system. They give you a sample of reported job titles, for example, that are alternate titles: administrative director, behavioral health services. That's where sometimes psychiatric nurses, they advance, into administration, for example. So that's how you look at that. All right, and these are also kind of clues on where else to look. Now, what it does is it gives you a job breakdown. So first of all, what are the tasks? And again, these are generic. That may not be that every advanced practice psychiatric nurse does all of these things. Some would probably do them, and maybe depending on where you work, do more. But you have a button here that you click and you get 24 tasks. Okay, so if you look at it, you're writing prescriptions for psychotropic medications as allowed. Okay, collaborate with are these things you would like to do? Are these things that you can do now? Are they things that you're already doing or have learned?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Yeah.
Yes.
So she has I think she has a PhD in pharmacology with cancer research.
Oh,
is there maybe
okay.
a job here we can look that up possibly?
Okay, sure. Let me go back. Let me go back to the screen so I can enter another job. Hold on. Having mouse issues. Okay, so you're looking for
pharmacology with cancer research.
Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, so here, these are the titles. If I just put in pharmacology, now that's not a job title, right? But you can look at some of these. Now this is these are the job titles they'll have in here. Clinical pharmacologist. Okay, right here. You see that? Okay. So again, if you're looking at it from the point of view of learning about it for the first time, this is a good place to go. If you're looking to see if you want to, I don't know the particular situations in terms of the job search, but if you're looking for something and you're currently working as a clinical pharmacologist right now, then you might want to think about how to use something like this to help with your resume. But one of the things that the resume does, what this program does rather, it does give you tasks. And if any of these things that you've done or that are listed here are not on your resume and it would be appropriate to put them on your resume, you want to make sure they're there. Okay. If you look at technology skills, does a person have all these skills? Do they need to look for these? Is there something in your technology set that is lacking? Then maybe you could look at it this way and say, okay, I'm not familiar with that. I've heard of that. Maybe I want to take a course in that. How do I do that? So you can ask yourself questions that way as well. But if you're just starting out, if you were not, somebody who had gotten licensure or certification as a clinical pharmacologist yet, and you would say, I think I'd like to get into that, this is a good way to look at it and evaluate whether or not you feel you would like it, whether you would be good at it. You could size, proficient at it. You could size yourself up relative to some of these things that they're saying that you need to have in terms of technology skills. You can almost write in the Microsoft Office program, but there might be other things on here that would give you a step up. Like, could you get a different job if you had this Visual Basic training? Or, and I have to tell you, I don't know what all these technologies are, so I apologize. But I don't know what the relation is to Photoshop. I don't know. But based on their research, these are the things that people are asking for or looking for in part. Okay, not everyone looks for it, but some do. This is like knowledge-based things that you've had to develop over time, and this is usually through formal learning and or work training, job training. Okay, what skills do you need? Okay, what does it take to be a clinical pharmacologist? A lot. Okay, but these are things that sometimes we don't always think about. Okay, sometimes when we ask what your skills are, I think that a lot of people get stumped. And one of the things you do is when you go on a job interview, a person will say, well, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your assets? You have to be able to articulate to an employer what some of your skills might be. So this might help you identify in some ways what skills are available. At the end of this, I'm just going to jump ahead. There is an interesting feature of this job, and there's a lot I'm going over, I know. Other job titles down at the bottom. Here is, you can go look here and get employment market information. This is where we cross over into the area of labor market information. So for example, let's look at New York State. Okay. And in New York State, you could look at what the hourly wages are, okay, for medical scientists, okay, because that's the category it's under, okay? And here's the salary ranges. The blue is the United States, the red is New York, okay? So the median salary is, a little lower than the national average, but the highest end salaries are a little bit more than that. So you could look at that. And then, I'm just going to close this out. You could go to employment trends. Okay, so what's the employment here for New York State for this. Okay. Yeah, an 18% change is anticipated between 2016 and 2026. Now, these are all projections, but this is what drives a lot of the economy, are these projections, and also how schools set up for training, or education. Okay, this is the projected number of openings. All right, so that's a feature of this program that's very easy to access. And then finally, if you go down, okay, you can find jobs. Okay, so let's see in your state. Let's see if there's any jobs in our state. Okay, zip code, I'm going to put the library zip code 11720, I think, right? Okay. Okay, so here's some job openings, okay, within 50 miles. So you can negotiate that. 1,510 jobs within 50 miles. Now, all of these, a person is not necessarily qualified, but these are the closest matches. So looking at these would be probably worth your while to see whether or not there is anything that closely matches what it is that you are looking for. Okay, I'm going to go back to the previous pages. Okay, I hope that gives you a little bit of information, Doctor. But I wanted to point out that you can go in with any job, not just the pharmacology job. You can go with any job title and eventually get your way down to that labor market survey. Are there jobs? What do they pay? Are there job openings? Okay, so this is what makes this is one of the benefits, I feel, of this particular system, because it takes you right through looking at what's involved in the job, right up to are there jobs available and who's hiring. Okay, this is also something that gives you a interest test. If you look where I did the advanced search, you can go through here and they actually give you an assessment of your interests, of your skills, of your work values. Interests really are what am I interested in doing? I always liked working with people. So I like using hand tools. I like using the computer to design. All those things are indicators about what it is that you might be comfortable and most satisfied doing. I mean, the thinking is that if you're doing something you're interested in, the chances are you're going to be happier with it for longer. Okay, and there are these are quick interest tests, and what they do on here is on the basis of they'll help you develop what they call a profile. On the basis of your profile, they'll give you suggestions of what to look at. Okay, the other thing here is skills. You know, what am I good at? All right, and some people will say they don't have skills, and then you talk to them for a little while and they have a lot of skills. And even if you're somebody who has not had a long work history, okay, you do have skills that would be able to be identified with the help of a counselor or a checklist like this to start. You can review these things with a counselor as well. Work values is usually the other part of the triad. Interests, abilities, or interest, skills, and values. Values is, why do you want to work? What do you want to get out of work? Okay, what's going to reinforce you in your work? So, for example, for me, it's the money. For me, it's the knowledge that I'm doing something good. I'm making the world a better place. I really like this kind of job because I can work as part of a team. Those things are all values, and you need to know what you should be aware, at least, what some of those values are, because if what you're looking at is not going to give you those things, it may be a source of dissatisfaction for you. All right, so you might want to spend time doing these assessments and having them help you link to a particular job. There's other things here on this website that are important. They do, like the other ones, give you information for specific groups like veterans, okay, like hot technologies. Those are things that are like becoming more and more popular, more and more frequently seen in job ads, or they could mean that employers are having a tough time getting people who know these things. Like we looked back before at that list of skills and knowledge, rather, and all the software and computer information or expertise that you need for certain occupations. So you might want to take a look at that as well. Open these up. Let's see what's in this hot technology ones. Okay, so these are all different programs, all different technologies. Okay, and if you go to find one, let's say on one of your job titles that you didn't know, like there was Microsoft Visual Basic. Okay, so where do you use that? Or you have a strength in that? You're really good with these are jobs you might want to look at. So there's a lot of ways to back into this as well. Okay. And they even use terms like industry development environment software. Again, this is foreign to me. Every time I do this, I learn something myself, which is why I really enjoy meeting people with different, career aspirations, because you learn. There's so much out there that can help you. Spending time with it is probably your best bet, and you're not going to get in over your head by going through here. You're just going to have opportunities to answer more questions, or ask more questions rather. I'm sorry. Okay. You can also go by occupations. You can also use a job family, for example, here. Okay, let's see what job families are. Sometimes they lump jobs into, we saw this with the Occupational Outlook Handbook earlier, right? So let's say you want to get into healthcare support. What jobs are in that? Okay, dental assistants, endoscopy techs, home health aides, massage therapists. All of these, vary in training, vary in salaries. Some of them require a degree, a license. Like, for example, a physical therapy assistant requires a license. Speech pathology assistants, the occupational therapy assistants, all licensed. Medical assistants, not necessarily, but certifications. Okay. One of the other things that you can look at is when you one of the websites had it. I think it was back with the pharmacology one, where you can get lists of places where you can get more information. Right down here. So at the bottom, okay, associations are wonderful places to go to. Okay, and open it up, like read what they have to say about that profession, that field. Okay, some associations actually have career people. They're not necessarily career counselors as such, but they're assigned to help people answer questions about whether or not they should, become a cancer researcher. Okay, and they also have access to publications that you could go to. If you're a college student and you're interested and you're in bio, or you're in psychology, or you're in business, whatever it is, my suggestion to you is to find out what the appropriate association for your profession or desired profession would be, and join it. Join it as a student. You'll never get a better rate, number one, on joining, but you'll get access sometimes to discounted training programs online, conferences, local chapters that you could go to, and start your networking for a job. Okay, associations are very underrated as a source of, or underutilized as a source of information about career areas. Okay, well, let's go on. I want to go to the final website, which is called Career Zone. And the Career Zone is this one is geared towards New York State, which is why I put it up there. Okay. Again, it's actually pretty similar to the kinds of information that is available to you to help you make decisions. The one thing I like about this is it does give you some information for teens, for example, young people looking at technology, how do you use it? The other one that I like on here again is an assess yourself. Okay, so you would have to go through interest, values, that kind of thing, assessment. You can search. Okay, what I really like here too is this resource page. Okay, because there's more information here. There's some really good information in here for college searches as well. Scholarships you see here. You could look that up. Internship programs. When you're in college, if you're looking for an internship, and traditionally outside of college, you have apprenticeships. Sometimes people that will be willing to provide you with an opportunity to get a paid position to learn and then take your license exam or whatever, for things like plumbers or electricians or what have you. So there's a lot of good information on here. Connection to the civil service lists, finding a job, hooking you up with the local departments of labor. All right. And there are a number of things on here worth exploring. But let me just show you this search. You can do a keyword here. I was on earlier. I was looking at broadcast technicians. I had somebody that came to me recently, wanted to get into doing things like video and that sort of thing. So let's see.
Sure.
So I think one of my technology needs is a Zoom training program. But if you look it up, you can see the search bar here for broadcast technicians. All right, so here you have a very brief description here. If you click on broadcast technicians, they're going to give you what the description is, what kinds of things you should be interested in. Like what kind of, I shouldn't say that, that's incorrect. People in this occupation have these kinds of interests. They like working with activities that include practical, hands-on problems, solution solving, plants, animals, materials, tools, machineries. In broadcast technician, you're dealing with computers, you're dealing with video, you're dealing with consoles of all kinds of sorts. But then the values, again, remember what I told you? It's interest, values, okay, what you'd need, what kind of skills you'd need. All right, so some of this stuff elaborates it. That's why I would suggest that any of the sites you go to that give you the opportunity to do an assessment, do it, because you could use that to guide yourself through some of these. All right.
Mike?
Yes.
Just interrupt for a moment. We have one more question.
Sure.
What is the best way to apply for a job? Should they go personally meeting with people or online posted jobs?
Well, that's a really good question. The online posted job, if you find a job online and it tells you to apply online, I think they're saying that's their preferred way of handling your application. If you can identify employers who hire what it is now, if let me just jump back. If the job ad doesn't just says send your resume, you could do that. You could drop off a resume, but if you don't have an appointment, it's not going to do you much good, excuse me, to just drop it off. Somebody has to be there to get it. So the thing you could do, you could make in your, it's still valid to make what they call a cold call on somebody. You can go, if you know they hire, for example, I'm looking here at this AV technology or broadcast technicians. So you're trained, you have some experience, you know that this company does some broadcast, broadcasting. So you may want to go in with your resume and you could ask if there's any openings. They could say no, but we have an application process. They can either give you a paper application, or they can give you directions, or you can apply right there online, which is another thing you need to be prepared for, is filling out stuff online, because that's how a lot of places are taking their applications. But if you were able to find, for example, a local association that deals with broadcasting, let's say, I'm just using that as an example, they may have meetings, like, and you get to meet people. Like, for example, Miller Business Center has meetings sometimes of business groups. You could call the library for more information about what it takes to get in there. But it's just not a job finding group, but you'll meet people in different fields who might be involved with some of these things. And while you wouldn't necessarily be applying for a job at that, you'd learn more about their company, because learning about a company is a big asset in terms of your job search. If you can learn as much as you can, it might put you above the next applicant. So to get back to your question, I'm sorry I diverted there, but I think if they tell you to apply online, you really pretty much got to apply online. If they don't tell you to apply online and they just tell you to reply by mail, then I would send in a nice cover letter with a nice letter. I would follow that letter up with like, give it a few days, a week or so, then follow it up and just say, I was wondering what the time frame is on your hiring decision for broadcast technicians. I sent my resume in a week, 10 days ago, whatever it was. You're wondering what the time frame is for a decision. Okay, so that's not a bad thing. There are other ways, for another kind of experience such as this, where you could discuss like other opportunities to find out about jobs. And like I said, one is this networking, okay, and going to meetings where there are people who are from a variety of industries or jobs, or self-employed, small business, big business. Attend those and learn about some of the issues that are involved in businesses, whether they're confronting now. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff after the virus pandemic begins to lift, and it will lift, but there's going to be a lot of information sharing. You might want to, keep your eye out for some of that. I think that would be important. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. You can keep going, Mike, and we'll, if anybody else has any questions, please post them in the chat. Mike, we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay. Let me just go back to look at some of these association websites, because I just want to underscore their use as a resource for you. That's okay. So this is really what is really involved with these memberships. Okay, and again, you can use this in any number of ways. You could use it as just researching information about careers in cancer-related fields, for example. So if you went in, here's a lectureship. These are some kinds of postings, sometimes for trainings. This happens to be the one they're looking for somebody to do a training, it looks like. But you go down here, and these are their services if you join. This is their annual meeting. And these are journals that are related to this particular association and what they cover. I mean, this happens to be a very unique job title, but even these publications, like if, let's say you wanted to get in, you thought you'd want to get involved with some way in some healthcare capacity, working to eliminate cancer, let's say, or help people live better with cancer. Okay, Cancer Today magazine. A lot of these websites put out magazines, and these are meant actually for not just the people. A lot of times, not just the people in the professional spots, okay, but sometimes for families, and things like that. I mean, in different, angles, so to speak.
Hey,
Okay.
Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Jim says LinkedIn website is helpful. What do you think of LinkedIn?
I think LinkedIn is good because I think it is giving you like an opportunity to set up a network, and again, networking is something that is very important because not all information about jobs is available, and job openings, let me say that, okay, is available online or in print, okay? LinkedIn is something where you can develop a network of people that know about you, know that you're looking for something in a given field, and let's say we're all looking for a job as a broadcast technician. Okay, there's 5 of us in this group. We're all on LinkedIn. We are linked to each other. If I hear of something that I don't like, I might say, I might send you that job ad. Okay, so I think LinkedIn would be good, and I think it's and when you look for jobs, I think you have to do more than just one thing. I would be careful with the level of sharing. I'm not on LinkedIn right now, but from what my previous experience was, it didn't really involve a lot of personal kinds of information. But I did get emails from people looking to talk about the field, looking to talk about a job, and even just sometimes learning. And like it or not, the computer is the way we talk and communicate. But one of the things that is very difficult, or people find difficult, is talking to people who they normally don't talk to. And that is exactly what happens in a job interview. You're talking to somebody who you don't know. Talking to, and they may be of a different level of understanding, sophistication, what have you. Learning to talk to different people and learning to be comfortable with different styles of interacting or communicating, let me use that word, I think is very important. So, I think I would definitely get on LinkedIn if I were looking for, to jumpstart or to start my career search. And sometimes people might even want to serve as a mentor, like for you, meaning they might take an interest in you, they might identify with you, they may want to say, look, I can give you another job lead or another lead for a person to talk to. Sometimes it's not about finding out about a job opening. Sometimes it's finding out, can you give me the name of can I get the name of someone else who can talk to me about what's going on in this field? And then before you know it, you might find yourself having a job interview, learning about a job interview, or job opening. Was that helpful?
I think so.
Okay.
All right, Mike. If you don't, very helpful, they said.
Okay.
If you don't have anything else to mention, I'd just like to really quick open it up to any more questions. Is that okay with you?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions for Mike before we wrap this up? All right. So, okay, someone says, Dr. Rashid says, I'm trying to start an herbal business. What would you suggest would be the good way of getting started with that, Mike?
like an herbal product that you want to sell? Is this the doctor is
Yes.
dealing with oncology? Okay. Well, I'm not. Well, again, I think that there's a lot of research that goes into starting a business. I'm going to refer you back to the Small Business Administration Center services that are available through the library. I think that's an excellent place to start.
Mhm.
Because this really developed. We talked today about maybe the basic elements of putting together a job search plan. There are protocols or strategies, if you will, to follow for putting together a business plan.
Yes.
Right? So, one of my favorite publications at Middle Country when I want to look up stuff is in this area. They have business plans, like almost like sample business plans that you could start.
Yes.
You could do, and then you have the Small Business Administration, which can also help you to expand on that, refine it, make it a little better. Help you
Yes.
think it through. Maybe give you a gentle hard time, meaning
Yeah.
think it through. What
Yes.
about this? Have you thought about that? Sometimes having somebody else look at what you're doing helps
Yeah.
because
So Mike, what I would, you mentioned the SBA. I would definitely recommend part of the organization is a Small Business Development Center at Stony Brook University.
okay,
They are business counselors, and they can definitely assist anyone in starting a business plan. Uh, they'll meet with you. Oh, so you said they didn't help. I'm sorry to hear
yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah, but yeah. So Mike mentioned the business plan handbook. Those are something that's available at the library.
right. The other
And
thing,
I think, I'm sorry, Mike. I
that's
think
right.
no, I think definitely doctors should make an appointment to see one of the counselors.
Yeah. Back on the second program we looked at, the Career One Stop. They do have a let's see. I didn't. There is something here called self-employment. I don't know if can you see this?
Yes.
Self-employment. Okay. Let's see what's in there. Okay. If you're thinking about self-employment, okay, um, this is a good place to go to start thinking some of these things. And then, there are some resources on here that you might want to look at. Okay. Like just even being like working in this kind of an economy. What's it like? What are the prospects of running your own business? How do you do that? And then there are a lot of, as Sal had said, there's a lot of resources available, print. I'm sure, like maybe Sal, some databases that people can look at for starting your own business. So,
We do. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, that sounds like a great thing, and I think if people are looking for an alternative to or an adjunct to medicine. I mean, I'm not an expert in that area. I'm not a doctor, but people are looking, and there's probably a need that you might be addressing. So, good luck with that.
Yep. And again, I want to mention, if you want to make an appointment, just a reminder, if you want to make an appointment to virtually see one of our career counselors, it's tinyurl/MCPL-CC. Again, that's tinyurl.com/MCPL-CC. And additionally, there is a great resource that Mike has created. It's a listing of some of the resources that he went over today, as well as some other things. And we're going to put that link down here in the chat. And it's I created it for the program. It's also a tiny URL to make it easier for you, and it's tinyurl/MA5420, and that'll send you right to the PDF file. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put it down at the bottom of the screen. So if anybody has any more questions before we finish up. Okay. Well, Mike, thank you so much for doing this program with us this morning.
No,
Appreciate
my pleasure.
it.
My pleasure.
And thank you all for coming down, and we'll see you next time.